Here's some breaking news. Hillary Clinton says she's not running in 2020. My first response was, thank fucking God. Then I thought about it for a little more, and my second response was, who fucking cares? But let's go to the article. Hillary Clinton, not running in 2020, decides she has abused the United States enough. Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton says she's not running for president again. I'm not running. The 2016 Democratic nominee told News 12 Westchester. Here's what she said, though. She would continue working and speaking and standing up for what I believe. What is that? What does she believe? What is she going to work and stand up for other than herself? What does she believe? Has anyone ever gotten an answer to that question? I've tried. I have tried. And I know some of the most ardent Hillary supporters in the world. And as far as what does she believe? What does she stand for? What's she going to do for healthcare? What's she going to do? You know, the only time she ever got excited on the campaign trail was when she was talking about how we can never have universal health care. It's the only time she got excited. You know, another time she gets excited when she talks about killing Gaddafi. She gets excited, or she gets giggly about that. Usually when people want to talk about policies regarding Hillary Clinton, they bring up something from the 90s. When she was actually campaigning for universal health care, when she was actually fighting for universal health care, then the big pharma checks came in, she changed her tune. Oh, and they kind of don't mention that part. They forget about that part. But anyway, she's going to continue standing up and fighting for what she believes in, whatever the fuck that is. I have yet to know what that is. All right. I want to be sure that people understand I'm going to keep speaking out. That's nice. I'm not going anywhere. Why would you? You're still making tons of money. Although you're having trouble selling tickets. What's at stake in our country? Okay. It's deeply troubling to me. We've gotten not just polarized, she continued. We've gotten into really, really opposing camps, unlike anything I've ever seen in my adult life. I'm sure you've had nothing to do with that, Hillary Clinton. All right, so she plans to take an active role in the next election cycle, which already features a crowded field. All right. She's met with a range of candidates and individuals considering a run. So she's met with Klobuchar and former Vice President Joe Biden. Biden's still considering whether he will launch a 2020 campaign. Well, I'm sure the fact that Hillary's not running will have an effect on that decision, because now he knows he has permission to run. The anointed queen has said she's not running. And the reason my second response was who the fuck cares is because if she were to run, first of all, she wouldn't take votes away from Bernie. She would just take votes away from the other centrists. What would likely happen is they would just sort of get behind her. The machine would just sort of get behind her, and it would just be like a repeat of 2016. And again, we would just be hoping that progressives are so loud and so large that they can't be cheated. And we got to hope for that anyway. Whether Hillary runs or not, we got to hope for that anyway. So Hillary's not running, and I'm glad she's not running. I'm glad that we don't have to go through that again, but I think that as history goes on, the Clintons are going to be seen as a very dark stain in American politics, and no pun intended with the stain reference. But as time has gone on, the Bill Clinton presidency has been looked on with less and less fondness, and reasonably so. He did a lot of terrible things. Which brings me to our next topic, which will go to Bill Clinton. We'll stay on the Clintons here for a hot minute. Bill Clinton has 2020 advice, but few candidates are seeking that. You know why that is? Because grifts eventually expire. Bill Clinton is a grifter. The entire Clinton organization are grifters. And eventually grifts expire. And this is a grift that has expired. Bill Clinton saw an opportunity to take the Democrats in a more business-oriented direction. He saw an opportunity to win with that type of messaging. It was a very short-term agenda that had very catastrophic effects for the long term. It was a short-term agenda to win, and then when he implemented what he wanted, because he was just a Republican anyway, still is, we're still dealing with the catastrophic effects. He deregulated Wall Street. He helped make the banks bigger, which Obama continued. We're still suffering from all those consequences. He made a horrible media structure even more terrible. Somehow he managed to take our media, which was already terrible, and make it worse, which is very impressive. He managed to do that. Our media structure, which, by the way, when it comes to press freedom, we're barely in the top 50. By the way, land of the free, we're barely in the top 50 when it comes to press freedom. We're around the same ranking as Italy. Italy, a country where the former Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi was the Prime Minister. He was a Hollywood mogul. He was Donald Trump, basically. He was Trump before there was Trump. He's Italy's Trump. He ran the entire media. They would run stories about how long he'll be able to have sex into his old years. Those were serious stories published by the Italian media because he ran everything. We're on par with Italy when it comes to that's where we're at. And that ranking is deserved. In fact, I think we're one ahead of Italy. I would argue we should be one below Italy. I would argue we're even worse. Because they actually have real left-wing media there. And at the corporate level, we do not. At the mass corporate level, we do not have that. We just don't. Our media structure shouldn't even be legal. You shouldn't have, when you have organizations like Comcast who have these blatant conflicts of interest, they shouldn't be allowed to run a news and information outlet. They can run a PR outlet, which is what they do, but passing it off as news and information to the populace, that should not be legal. There should be laws protecting people from that, but there aren't. And one of the reasons there aren't is because of Bill Clinton and the Telecommunications Act in 1996. He helped gut any media protections we've had. So he somehow took a repulsive structure, made it even worse. He pulled that off. So that's why no one wants your advice, Bill Clinton. It's because grifts have an expiration date. And your expiration date is beyond expired. You are the milk somebody forgot about in the refrigerator 2 years ago. You're not just like, oh shit, is this still good? It's like a week past the expiration date. Let me do a sniff test. You are, hey, I'm moving out of my apartment. I forgot this milk was there. When the fuck did I buy it? That's how expired Bill Clinton and those ideas are. So the only reason anybody would want to listen to him is if they want to lose. You know what they were doing when Hillary was behind? You know what they decided to do? By the way, when Hillary was behind, their big idea to try to mobilize people and get more support for her when she wasn't as ahead in the polls as they thought she should have been, they sent out mailers. You have to send out mailers. Don't get me wrong, that still has a place. But that was like their main wheelhouse. Like it was like mailers come first, everything else is second. Because the last time they were a dominant political force, email wasn't really a fucking thing. So they sent out mailers, and then they called landlines, probably. And then they offered everybody a free 8-track. The Clintons. All right, let's see if there's anything to this article. And there he is, trying to pull off another grift. And his last one didn't work out so well. Their speaking tour, didn't sell many tickets because grifts have an expiration date. All right, nearly 20 years after he left the White House, Bill Clinton is still sought after for advice by some Democrats running for president. But the names on his dance card in recent months underscore how much his standing in the party has changed. Okay. So far, none of the party's early frontrunners have had a formal meeting with him, nor have the women who are right. Well, that's probably a good judgment call for them. Instead, Clinton has spoken mostly with male candidates. I knew it. Clinton's a sexist Bernie bro. I always knew it. Bill Clinton, sexist burn bro. Clinton remains one of the Democrats' most successful politicians of the last half century and one of its strongest messengers on the economy. Yet the party has shifted considerably to the left since his 2 terms in the White House. He continued Reaganomics. He gutted welfare. So if by bringing down the economy, then yeah, he certainly helped with that, which was further exacerbated by George W. Bush. Let's see. And he pushed through NAFTA. His personal baggage, that's putting it very gently, as well as lingering hostilities from his wife Hillary Clinton's failed 2016 campaign, make him an awkward advisor for some in his party's next class of presidential hopefuls. You know what else makes him an awkward advisor? He's straight up creepy. There's that. He's a creepy guy. He's repulsive on every level. Politically, morally, socially. He's repulsive on every level. But he was that cool guy that played the saxophone, and then he took off his mask. So yeah, no candidate with half a brain would want Bill Clinton's advice because grifts have an expiration date. Now, old grifts are replaced by new grifts. Don't get me, I'm not going to sit here and entertain some naivety that Bill Clinton was the first or last grifter. Of course he's not. There's plenty of Republican grifters, plenty of Democrat grifters, and everything in between. But you got to move on to a new grift. And Bill Clinton, as Andy Warhol would say, your 15 minutes are up. And you really fucking overstayed your welcome. So the last person out, please turn out the lights on that one. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and